I mean, if me as a middle-aged married man can even listen to a Taylor Swift song and relate to what she's singing about, then she's totally misunderstood the brief. Hi, my name is Mike and welcome to my vlog about football in general and Burnley FC in particular. A vlog that last night went to see Torvill and Dean ice skating and thought that the work required and the incredible skill combined with the dramatic histrionics and throwing bodies around at the slightest touch was a pretty good warm-up for watching half the teams in the Premier League. So that is it. That is the end of the 2024-25 season. Clarets finished second, having scored 100 points, which is a hell of a remarkable feat. But do finish second, having beaten Millwall 3-1 at home on a sunny Lancashire, well, just into the afternoon. An excellent game, I thought, in front of a big crowd, lots of Millwall fans. They contributed to what I thought was an excellent game. The Millwall had a chance of getting into the playoffs and played like they had a chance of getting into the playoffs. Clarets obviously starting the game with the chance of winning the title if they could better Leeds' result. I'll kind of come on to that a little bit more later. But I thought it was a really good game of football. Millwall, contributed, like I say. In fact, taking the lead inside, I think, about 10 minutes with a good goal, which I think was probably what the game needed. Because, I kind of had a feeling the Clarets were not so much interested in the title necessarily, but more kind of like, there was a clean sheet record available to them, which obviously, that has been after 10 minutes. There were various other defensive records available to them. And, I was wondering whether they would kind of concentrate on that. But no, they had to come out and play. First music reference of the vlog. They had to come out and play, and it was kind of interesting. The Millwall goal goes in, and in my head I'm going, okay, that's good probably for the game. They're going to have to wake up a little bit. They're going to have to come out and, we've scored. Literally 20 seconds, Josh Brownhill scoring yet another goal. Was it a little bit, I thought Barnes was a little bit lucky not to give away a foul. Other referees might give him a foul. He was throwing himself in front of a couple of clearances. But anyway, bounces to Brownhill, lovely finish into the corner. 1-1. Into the second half, the Clarets were just pouring it on, properly pouring it on. Chance after chance, couple of good saves, couple of good goal-mouth scrambles. It also felt like, we were a little bit open at the back, which is, great, especially when you're pushing forward. Amazing save. I think it was given as offside, but there was an amazing save from James Trafford to tip one over. Jadon Anthony's kind of an interesting one. He's sometimes completely unplayable in both senses of the word, in that he's just unbelievably good, but then his kind of final cross or shot or pass just isn't there. There was one chance that he did kind of like, miss, but then he scored a beautiful goal. The pass was really good, but the touch to take it past the defender was just absolute quality. And from there, a smooth finish into the corner. I think the goalie wasn't particularly well positioned, but hey, that's not Shane Landy's fault. 2-1, and at that time we're, according to the table as it stands, the champions. And we're thinking, maybe it is actually happening. I kind of wish it was the other way around. Leeds maybe scoring in the first 10 minutes, and then we just know. But the problem is, as I always say on the vlog, it's the hope that kills you. And then just as Leeds scored what turned out to be their winner, Clarets got a free kick outside the box. Josh Brownhill lined up to take the free kick. And usually, over the past few years, the words Josh Brownhill lined up to take the free kick is a cue for everyone behind the goal to put on a hard hat. But this time, he managed to find the bottom corner. I think he managed to get it on target for the first time in, 7 years or something like that. To top off an incredible goal-scoring season for him, and to top off an incredible season for the Clarets. The Brownhill's contract is obviously up, and there is some talk. He may well go off. He may not sign a new one. He wanted to see what was happening, and I've sort of always said this about Brownhill. I've not been he's not been my favourite player. He's always been an incredibly solid midfielder, especially in the Championship. Absolutely Championship top end. He's been promoted twice with us in the Championship, quality midfielder. In the Premier League, not quite so much, I don't think. That's just personal opinion. But in terms of his contract situation, If he stays, excellent. If he goes, fine. I'm so fine, so absolutely okay with that, because for the service to the club, he has earned the right to choose. He has earned the right to choose his next destination, whether it's staying at Turf Moor or whether it's moving on. Even for a payday at a bigger Premier League club, you cannot in any way, shape or form deny him the right to do that, because I think he's been such a good servant to Burnley that he goes wherever he goes and whatever his next destination is. And as I say, if it's Turf Moor, great. But if he goes off somewhere else, the best of luck to him, and thank you for not only this season being a superb captain, leading the team to 100 points, but also his service over the past few years under Dyche, under Company, and under Scott Parker. When he does go, I'll probably do something over the summer. I'll probably sort of comment a little bit more, or if he stays, So the final whistle goes. No pitch invasion, due to hundreds of stewards around the edge of the pitch. A lot of comment online about the pitch invasions and so on and so forth, and I thought there was a hell of a lot of not noticing going on from parts of the Burnley fan base. Yeah, it's okay to say, what about Wrexham? What about Bristol City having a pitch invasion? What about Bradford having a pitch invasion? Yeah, well, Bradford and Wrexham and Bristol City and all these other clubs, they haven't already had a fan run onto the pitch this season and get himself banned. They haven't had fans on the pitch this season who were banned from all of football. They haven't had fans who have been charged by the FA for throwing things at Manchester City players. They haven't had fans booing the knee. They haven't had fans flying racist banners over a football match. The whole pitch invasion thing did not happen in a vacuum. Burnley fans as a collective, obviously it's a minority, obviously it's a small number of dickheads, but as far as the authorities are concerned, Burnley fans as a collective are walking on thin ice, and the club has to do what it can in order to prevent getting in trouble with the authorities. Wrexham will, or whoever will, the way it was a pitch invasion, there will quietly be fines for that. I think its going rate's about 25 grand. But we're probably in the 100 grand for being repeat offenders section. So, for all the complaints, a lot of not noticing that we've got history. But anyway, that's the only downside that I have for the pitch invasion thing. So yeah, there was a long delay, all the speakers being put on the pitch, and I kind of wondered why, but then we found out that Natasha Bedingfield makes a surprise appearance. I thought that was an excellent move by the club. I thought that was a great sort of, not just a bit of PR, but also kind of like a, reward to the players and all that kind of thing. And I thought it was a really good thing. Now, now this may come as a surprise, but I am as far away as it is possible to be from her target audience. And I am no expert on floaty, naughties, pop, strumpets. So I always get her confused with Dido, until I remember that one of them got sampled by Eminem. But then so did Chaz out of Chaz and Dave. He did. Look it up. But anyway, the Bedingfield thing I thought was a really nice thing to do. Not just for the players, but also for the fans. Fans who stayed behind enjoyed it. I stayed behind for a couple of songs. It was cool. That's Natasha Bedingfield on the pitch. And I checked online, and God, people are such a bunch of absolute fun sponges at times. Lots of, I have no idea who she is. Well, so what, mate? Like I say, I'm not the target audience. It's like me complaining about not understanding the appeal of Taylor Swift. I mean, if me as a middle-aged married man can even listen to a Taylor Swift song and relate to what she's singing about, then she's totally misunderstood the brief. But, we had a bona fide pop star on the pitch. Beats having the fancy pants dog troop, or a parachutist getting stuck on the cricket field stand. So, but we have Unwritten being sung live on the pitch. There was a football vlog in here somewhere. Yeah, so Leeds' last minute winner did make it a bit kind of muted at the end. And like I say, I kind of wanted them to, Leeds either to have put it done and dusted the first 10 minutes, or actually, for Clarets to win it. But I think that it kind of was appropriate. And I got asked a few weeks ago, because I did the ranty one back in December, where I said that I can't wait for Scott Parker to leave. And I got asked a genuine question, do I still stick by that? And I think the answer Do I want Scott Parker to leave, or can I wait for Scott Parker to leave? The answer is no, not now. But the sentiment and the frustration and the emotion behind it when I did it is still very valid. Because if you think about this season, and if you think about what happened just slightly after the final whistle, this is a team that has scored 100 points, one less than under VK. And I'll always say that Vincent Kompany season is the perfect season for me, personally. It will always be the perfect season. But this team has scored 100 points, so one less. 33 undefeated, that's a new championship record. I think it's a new AFL record. The incredible defensive record, where I think Josh Brownhill has scored more goals than we conceded. One player has scored more goals than we conceded the entire season. The defensive record. All those records that have broken. And yet, it still feels like we're underwhelmed. It still feels like could have been better. And that's the emotion. That's the what I was getting at when I did that. And for the first half of the season, for a large part of actually up until about 15 games ago, that's kind of how myself and looking around a lot of people felt. And yesterday, 100 points, all these records, 100 points, didn't win the championship, and came off going, could have been better. Because ultimately, the frustration came from, we could see it. We could see what this team was capable of. We could see what these players were capable of if they were allowed to do it. And a couple of things I was saying, we never get to the byline. Koleosho is always being told to go inside and not to the byline. We're taking crosses from the wrong place. Go back and look at the QPR goals from last week. One of them, Koleosho, goes to the byline and cuts back. I think the third one, Josh Brownhill is taking a cross to the far post, but he's taking it from a position much further forward. That's the kind of thing I was screaming at to actually get the players to do, and the manager was not telling them to do. And that ultimately is where that came from, was knowing that these players are capable of so much more. And for the last 15 or so games, they did it. They showed what they were capable of. And for all and Scott Parker has absolutely done the job, and I don't want to damn him with faint praise here, I want to give him credit. He was brought in to get promotion. That was the expectation. I mean, the minimum was the playoffs. Absolutely, the minimum was the playoffs. Top end of the playoffs was probably par, third. Automatic promotion is, yep, you've done a good job. Title is, you've done a very good job. He's done a good job with the resources and everything like that. Full credit to him. And for the last 15 games, we have played some wonderful, wonderful football. And I guess the frustration was those previous games held us back. And it held us back to the point that we become the first ever club to score 100 points and not win the title. Now, you can't blame him for that. Congratulations to Leeds, by the way. I mean, ultimately, if you score 100 points, you expect to win the title. Leeds scored 100 points. They got it on goal difference. Fair play to them. No complaints there at all. In fact, if we had won it, it would have been, like I say, slightly underwhelming, slightly under, we scored 100 points, but how many games did we draw? 16? What if we'd have gone for it in one of those 16 games? No, what if we'd have gone for it in two of those 16 games? Won one, lost one. We'd be celebrating the championship. Still have 14 draws. And you can pick a game where we didn't go for it. Stoke, Portsmouth away, Preston, Derby at home. So yeah, that's why yesterday coming out of the stadium, it felt a little muted. It felt a little, there are all words, good word. That it was there. But the reason we didn't get it was kind of our fault. And that feels a little bit strange to be saying, 100 points getting promoted to the Premier League. And, there's bound to be somebody already typing their comment below, and there's already going to be in that comment the word entitled. And the word entitled, when it comes to football fandom, has just lost all meaning. It's just been overly used and misused. And there is something coming on that in the summer. But anyway, it's like legend and banter. They're meaningless words now. And it's not a sense of entitlement, it's a sense of what could have been. And I said conflicted months ago about this season. I'm a bit conflicted. We are promoted, we are record holders, we've scored incredible amount of points, we played beautiful football for the last 15 games, and I still came away from the turf going, ugh. But anyway, I'm not going to, like I say, I don't want to dwell on the negatives or have a go at the manager. I think full credit to the manager, full credit to the players. Esteve, brilliant. He was my player of the season. James Trafford, funnily enough, with James Trafford, I know he's got all these records and stuff like that. It's kind of funny. And this is hard, you can tell I'm struggling to put it into words. He never seems to have done much to get that, except for that moment when he does. He seems to have nothing to do for 89.5 minutes, and then he comes off with one amazing save. What a very, very weird way of getting the defensive record. Full credit to him. His redemption mark is complete. CJ Egan-Riley out of contract. I hope he signs again. But let's be realistic here. If you cast your mind back to the start of the season, we had Dara O'Shea next to Esteve, and then O'Shea went and we had Joe Worrell. And Joe Worrell was signed to be Esteve's defensive partner this year. And then Joe Worrell, I think, broke his foot in training. CJ Egan-Riley walks into the team in the Derby game, if I remember correctly, and raw, very raw, but then grows and grows and grows to become a key member of that defensive setup. But at the start of the season, he was third or fourth choice at least, and he was likely heading towards a loan spell, and then at the end of the season, thank you very much, good luck with your career. Instead, he got a chance, he grasped it with both hands, he built an incredible reputation, and he will attract a lot of interest from other clubs, and he may well take that up. That's football. Good luck to him, Hopefully he stays, but good luck to him. So CJ, Lucas Perez, pushed out by Bashir Humphreys, but again, looked really raw at the start of the season, looked great yesterday, really improved. Credit to Perez, credit to the manager and his coaching staff. One of the key things about the last 15 games, Josh Cullen started playing like he did under Vincent Kompany. I never will understand why he never played like he played much last year. Maybe it was injury, but I don't think they ever said it was. And then this year, he just didn't seem to be fitting into a midfield. The midfield just didn't seem to work at all. But on that 15-game run, he has started being the tidy-up guy, started being the guy who's available to relieve the pressure when someone is under pressure in the press and all that kind of thing. He started being that tidy-up guy again, started being Josh Cullen, and it's been brilliant to watch. Again, God continue. I don't know why it took so long to get him back to the game that he can play and he's best at. Hannibal, cool hero. Again, seems to have made, over the last few weeks, seems to have just suddenly clicked as to what his role is. 100% effort on the pitch. He's going to drive me mad a few times with doing something stupid, but he's going to be fun to watch. Glad to have him. Yeah, and then, they're the ones I really want to pick out. I have no complaints about any of the players this year or anything like that. I think they've all, in the previous vlog I said they've just worked their nuts off. They have given everything for the cause, and they go down as a team. They go down as heroes. They go down in Burnley history, and congratulations to every single one of them. And the Premier League awaits. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the Premier League, but we are Premier League, and let's just enjoy a summer without the noise before it all starts up. Hopefully, my fervent hope is that we don't do what we've done the last 2 years and just basically overhaul the team completely. These guys have earned the right to pass or to fail in the Premier League. If I had to put my hand on heart, do I think this team could stay up? No. It does need significant strengthening up front and in a couple of other places, but that is not a knock on these players. It's not a knock on Scott Parker either. It is the gulf between the Championship and the Premier League is so huge. So absolutely huge that it is incredibly difficult for any club, not just Burnley, who usually, apart from the year before last, are not too stupid with either the money or the transfer policy, it is incredibly difficult for clubs to stay up. That the ladder has well and truly been pulled up. So we're in for a tough year, but I think this ultimately comes down to, I demanded more from the manager this year when I could see that there was so much more to give. Whereas next season, all I can ask is that they give what they have, and no matter what happens, I will support the players and the manager for that, even if it means we're coming back down again. So that's it for this one. That's it for the season. I will be doing stuff in the off season, pretty much ad hoc. I've got a few ideas and things like that, but I'm not going to say when they are or anything like that, because I'm going to do them when I feel like doing them, when I feel they're ready, or when the inspiration hits, when something happens that I find interesting. So in the meantime, thank you very much for your support this year or this season. Thank you for your comments, thank you for your likes, thank you for your subscribes. If you have enjoyed this, please leave a comment below. Please give us a like, please give us a subscribe. It has been amazing seeing the reaction, both good and bad, So yeah, thank you very much for your support over the season. I wish you and your loved ones a good rest over the summer. And then we begin again in August, and we begin again in the Premier League. Up the Clarets.